I've got 6 very, very cute nieces and nephews, 6 of them. They are snot buckets, okay? So like as great as they are walking petri dish. Love them, fantastic. But I'm thinking I might have caught a little bit something. So lose my voice here. I'm gonna keep this video a little bit brief as a result, but I think it's just a cold at this point. It doesn't seem like anything too serious, but stuff happens. But anyway, there is a lot to talk about, even though I'm probably going to have to keep this video. I'm going to do my best to keep it short here. I want to share with you perspective from a number of different XRP chart analysts, including one who points out it's just matter of fact data. XRP is the most oversold that it has been for this entire market cycle, which is pretty fantastic and noteworthy. And then in terms of where we are, macro stuff, I got some updates for you there, but if I don't, tamp it down and go a little bit below my baseline, I'm going to blow my voice out. But before going further, there it goes. The voice is leaving me. The voice is leaving. Before going further, I do want to be clear, I do not have a financial background of any kind. I am not offering financial advice, and you definitely should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. I'm just an enthusiast who enjoys making YouTube videos about crypto-related topics, but just as a hobby and just for fun. So I record this video at 6:35 p.m. Central Time, Sunday, December 28th, 2025. 2025 is almost over. Can you believe it? I think 2026 is going to be even better. I had a great 2025, honestly, including in crypto. It was fantastic being vindicated as an XRP holder. XRP is clearly here to stay. We're just going to keep trending up. Fundamentals have never been stronger. It's so obvious that XRP is an early winner of the crypto space, despite the liquidation event of October 10th and all of the crypto fallout price-wise that's happened since then. These things happen. Not the end of the world. But XRP is $1.87. Bitcoin's just over $88,000. Take a look at this post from chart analyst Gordon, one of the more popular analysts out there in all of crypto, 844,000 followers on X. And he wrote, XRP is the most oversold it's been for the entire cycle and still holding key support. But people want to wait for a 20% confirmation to pump. Yes, chase back in. Once it starts going, you want to make sure. To me, dollar cost averaging has always made the most sense. But, the first thing he said there, I've been pointing that out for a long time. The XRP has just been holding strong. Or, well, I guess it was the second thing he said here, but just holding key support. That's incredible strength. It's not like XRP has gone down in a vacuum. The whole crypto market's gone down, and XRP has just been a part of it. So look at that strength. Look at what happens, because markets do get oversold and eventually they rebound. That always happens. Always, always, always. And one day, mark my words, XRP will be bought again. It'll be the opposite of this. It'll be overbought one day, and we're going to have extreme strength, and the price will rally into it. I don't pretend to know when it's going to be, but I'm going to be here when it happens. I'll tell you that. Here's a post from Crypto Insight UK, also optimistic. He says, potential Adam and Eve bottoming pattern forming here for XRP on the hourly. And of course, this should result, if he's indeed correct, in a bullish trend, so continuation to the upside. He has not changed his expectations. He's been very clear publicly for a long time. He believes XRP is going into double-digit price territory this market cycle, and he thinks it's going to peak between 20 to 30 bucks. He and Credible Crypto are exactly on the same page. Here's a post from Chartner. Said XRP multi-month support keeps getting defended. However, lower highs are pressing down from above, and the price is coiling back at support. Either way, compression equals decision soon. Wait for confirmation. Okay, that there are multiple analysts, and by the way, he's one of them. Chartner is one of them, warning it's possible, not guaranteed, but possible you're going to see XRP go a fair bit lower before we actually bottom out. Could be $1.50, could be $1.60. We'll see. To be clear, if that happens, it's not the end of the world. And I'd be surprised if you see that happen unless the whole market needs to bleed even further, including Bitcoin. If Bitcoin's going to tank even further, fine. But, this idea that XRP is just going to crater down in a vacuum and the rest of the market's just going to be moving sideways, that's just laughable to me. That's absurd. That's unless there's something material that changes for the XRP ecosystem, that's just ridiculous. Obviously, when the SEC sued, okay, XRP moved on its own there, but that was because of the SEC. Price cratered. But outside of stuff, something wild like that, it almost never is. Just be clear. You can, if you're talking about, we're all at a baseline, there's nothing going on, and then one coin drops ridiculously. No. If you're talking about, hey, a coin has rallied, it's moved sideways, and now it's time to correct a little bit further, well, that happens. But that's not what I'm talking about. Here's a post from McGREG Crypto. He says, XRP, we are still accumulating. This is my stance. And so he firmly believes we're going much higher. He's still calling for a very strong probability for double-digit price action for XRP this market cycle. Here's a post from Cantonese Cat. XRP yearly chart. I don't know, ... Looks like it wants to break into all-time highs, but just not ready to do so yet. So certainly acknowledging a possible better future, but this isn't necessarily the exact moment. But again, I still firmly believe, and if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I think that 2026 is going to be the year. I think it's finally going to happen for all of the macro reasons that I keep citing on this channel. It just makes sense. I'd be very surprised if not. Oh, and in response to that, by the way, Ched's Trading. This is a very popular chart analyst, 371,000 followers. I technically follow him on X, but I don't regularly check his content. Nothing against him on a personal level, but I know he hates XRP. And so I wasn't surprised when I saw this post. He responded to Cantonese Cat and he says, in reference to XRP, he said, it's going to $1.25 range, then likely sub $1. So look, I'm not afraid to share the scary sounding predictions from any analyst out there, okay? But I will note that what I typically find when there is something this dire predicted, and it's just for this coin and not for the rest of the market, it's usually because whoever is saying it, so they hate XRP irrationally. They suffer from the affliction known as XRP derangements. That's almost always what it is. And that is what's happening here. Case in point, all you have to do is go into advanced search, and it's just fun to look this stuff up. Anytime you see somebody they throw out a chart on social media and they're crapping all over XRP, do an advanced search. See what they've been saying about XRP for like the last 5. They've almost always been trashing it, and that's the case here. This is just one example. So on July 5th, 2020, the official Binance account wrote XRP is _. So it's just an engagement farming thing. They just wanted people to respond, and they got 2,500 replies, so it was a smart thing to do. They do crap like this, other exchanges have. But Cheds is one of the people that they drew in. They farmed a response from Cheds. And again, Binance wrote XRP is _. And Ched's response, trash. He wrote trash, meaning XRP is trash. Wouldn't you know, the guy that thinks that XRP is trash also thinks that it's going very, very low by itself. Oh, okay. Yeah, well, I'm not going to lean too heavily on what you think there. Just saying. Here's another post from TechDev, and he's sharing this chart showing how Bitcoin correlates with the business cycle. And you can note that when you get to the bottom of the business cycle, it starts that like when it starts cranking back up, and we're at the bottom, obviously, that's when you start to see the true crazy price action for Bitcoin, and the entire asset class moves in tandem. So the best is yet ahead. And I just, like I'm telling you, the 4-year cycle is broken, but the, everything that underpins that is not broken. It's still doing that. And so he seems to get that. Now, Stock Money Lizards responded to TechDev and wrote, thanks for sharing. The disconnect between the 4-year cycle and the business cycle has never been that strong. And TechDev wrote, they are one in the same in my, and I do agree with this. He says the 4-year cycle was the 4-year cycle because the last several business cycles were 4 years. Almost certainly because that was the U.S. debt refinancing cycle for several reasons, most notably of which is the added about 1.5 years of average debt maturity held by the U.S. due to the COVID-induced rate crash. As per Raoul speaks about, this one is 1.5 years longer. Spot on. And that is the thesis that I have been highlighting a lot on my channel, because I want as many people as possible to know about it, because it's not sufficiently common knowledge. It's the only macro thesis that's cohesive. It's the only one I've come across that makes sense. The bears out there, they'll have their 1, 2, 3 reasons, whatever it is, or however many number of things they'll show on a chart usually. And then there's no macro thesis that binds it all together, which doesn't do it for me, because all charts are downstream from macro. It's not that the charts happen and then macro responds to whatever happened on the charts. That don't make no damn sense all up in this bitch. The reality is macro things actually unfold, and then you can see the consequences of the macro things in the charts. So pay attention to macro. You can get a good feel for what might be probable, especially based on historic precedent. So yeah, I'd say the best is yet ahead. Then there was this post shared by Cryptos R Us, and it was a video clip of Raoul. And so he wrote, Raoul says buy the dip. That's the man behind this thesis. And we're going to see. I think he's right. I do. If he's not right, I can't explain it, because that means everything's just broken. Like, look, what global liquidity no longer matters for this particular risk on asset. It'll just not correlate anymore. Like, it just deviated here and it will just never snap back in. Like, I just don't buy it. Just let enough time pass and you'll see. But you can also see the correlation in terms of Bitcoin and the business cycle. That is still intact, actually. That's the funny thing. Forget the 4-year cycle. That doesn't matter. The metrics that make the 4 years happen, that's what matters. And so you can see the business cycle in Bitcoin are still, they're in lockstep still, which is what you'd expect to be the case if Raoul Paul's correct. So anyway, Raoul Paul says, buy the dip. According to the macro analyst, we've already experienced the final low, referring to the October 10th crash. Quote, nobody needs to buy the absolute bottom, but that dip zone has been forming from November, because after October, we had the November pullback, and then into the end of November, we had the final sell-off, end quote. Folks, the best is yet ahead. Here's a post from James Easton. He shared this Bitcoin cycle extreme oscillators chart, and he wrote, Bitcoin extreme oscillators, we are closer to the bottom than the top. And so this chart is using just multiple long-term Bitcoin cycle indicators. And historically, when these spike to extreme highs, that's where major cycle tops form. So right now, none of them are anywhere near those euphoric levels. None of them. They are sitting much closer to where Bitcoin has based in past cycles. So that doesn't mean the bottom is definitely in right now, and I'm not making that claim, but it does suggest we're structurally much closer to the bottom of the cycle. And so there we go. And I'm going to wrap up here. I'm going to go Betty bye. I'm going to try and get some sleep now after I get this thing uploaded. Hopefully, I'm not going to end up even more sick. If I am, I will not be here tomorrow. If I do not get disastrously more sick, then expect me back tomorrow. I would like to be back, because when I can't talk, if I'm that sick, I am just so bored laying in bed. I want to do things. But, sometimes you really do just need to rest. But I'm hoping at this point, it probably is just I'm hoping so. I'm really hoping so. I hope it doesn't snowball into something. Is what it is. I just need to get some. Anyway, thanks for hanging with me. Appreciate the support. I'm not a financial advisor.